Welcome to this free training on how to become a grief coach. I am Sandy Falter. I am the owner of Build a Life After Loss and a certified grief coach. And joining me, founder of Build a Life After Loss, Julie Clough. We are so excited to share with you this wonderful program and the opportunity for you to become a certified grief coach. I'll share how I went from grieving to grief coach. Julie will give you some insights into understanding grief and how to help others on this journey of healing. And then stick around at the end. I'll share a little bit more about the structure of the program and all the bonuses that you can tap into right now to get started to become a grief coach. In a short period of time, I lost my dad, my mom, my brother, and my husband unexpectedly left me. My heart was shattered, and I didn't know how to move forward with my life. I learned about the Hope model of healing, and my life was transformed as I learned and understood grief and applied the tools to actually heal and rebuild. I came away with a passion to help in healing. It's like when you go and see a good movie or you go out to a good restaurant and it's so good you just want to share it with other people. That was how I felt. This was a total change of direction for me, but I felt called to this work. So I became certified as a grief coach through Build a Life After Loss. The following year, while I was still building my coaching business, I started working alongside Julie Clough, the founder of this fabulous program. I started helping enroll people and training on the Grief Coach Certification Program. This has been my passion. I love to help build people up, to mentor them and train them so that they too can help others. We need more people walking alongside those who are struggling and feeling stuck in grief. Julie Clough is going to share a little bit about the 5 foundations of growth, the Hope model of healing, and some great information to help you as you guide others through grief and through your own healing.
I'm Julie Clough. I'm the founder of Build a Life After Loss and the Hope Grief Coach certification. Why am I here? And if you're not familiar with my story, I did lose my brother to suicide, and then my 2 youngest children died in a car accident when they were 8 and 10 years old in 2007. And I've had other grief experiences, but all very, very painful, grief-filled experiences. And there's a reason that you're here. And chances are you have had your own experiences with grief and you've had to overcome those experiences, or you've had to work through those experiences, or you may be still feeling the effects of that loss and that grief. It's important to realize, and I don't know that these statistics are anything that you don't already know, but nearly 50% of marriages end in divorce. And 95% of people worldwide have health problems, with over a third having more than 5 ailments. This is the nature of our circumstances. And in addition to that, in 2019, there was a study that suggested that 57% of people in the United States had lost someone close to them during the previous 3 years. So there's a real need for understanding around grief and loss and healing and what that means and what to expect. There are many different loss experiences, grief experience, death, divorce, estrangement, health challenges, infertility, stillbirth, job, career loss, even a move. But there's so many things that bring feelings of grief, and grief lowers our confidence. It drops our concentration. It creates disconnection. It can damage relationships. It impacts happiness, the amplification of depression and anxiety, the increase of fear, destroying the sense of purpose and interrupting sleeping and eating patterns and affecting our health. So these are pretty significant things, and grief is something that we need to pay attention to. And one of the things I've noticed, and maybe you've noticed this too, is grief is a subject we don't pay any attention to until we're in the middle of it. And when we're in the middle of it, we don't know what to do because we haven't had any education around grief. And kind of the common thoughts about grief in society are not very helpful. And maybe you've found that too. I often say that experiencing loss and grief is like being thrown into the middle of a deep, dark lake and you've never learned how to swim. So let's talk about grief and how to swim. Like, let's learn about grief, understand our grief more so that we can have more compassion for ourselves and others, and so that we can work towards healing. So, what are the challenges and what can be done? What are the challenges of grief and what can be done? Now, love, loss, and grief, if we look at each individual word, we know that if we look up love in the dictionary, it's going to have a different definition than loss, which is going to have a different definition than grief. However, how often have you seen these things all lumped together? All lumped together. If we have loved and experienced loss, chances are we've experienced grief. And not all grief experiences are a loss of something that is of a person or a thing that we've loved. Some grief experiences are more intangible losses, like the loss of security, the loss of safety, when we've been maybe the victim of crime. But these terms are often lumped together. And when we have loved somebody and we have lost that person, we experience grief. And how many times have you heard grief is love? But is that really true? Does grief equal love? And what I've discovered is as we separate these things, we can experience loss, move through grief, but then discover that the love that we have is not dependent on our grief, and that we can actually let go of more and more of the pain of loss and reclaim the love that was there. And that becomes the prominent emotion. So when we experience a loss, we truly don't need the pain in order to continue to love that person. But it is part of the experience that when that dynamic changes, we go through a period of grieving. And so grief is an experience. It's not necessarily permanent. Let's talk about some of the current grief models. And you're going to be familiar with these, even if you're not familiar with the doctors that developed them. The first one is the Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's 5 stages of grief. Many of us are familiar to some extent or another to the 5 stages of grief. And Dr. Lois Tonkin's model of grief. Chances are you will recognize the model when I show it to you. Dr. Kubler-Ross's 5 stages of grief include denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. What's interesting to note about this particular model is when she developed these 5 stages of grief, this was the name that she gave it. This was a model that came out of her experience working with people who were terminally ill, who had received a diagnosis of a terminal illness. And then as she worked with patients who were terminally ill, she noticed that this was very common for people to go through these 5 different experiences during their terminal illness: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And they weren't all present all the time, but this is what she commonly saw. Then later, that model was overlaid into general grief, grief when we experience a death or a divorce or any other type of loss. Of course, stages of grief implies, and she even mentioned that she wishes she had named it something a little different because it implies that it's linear. She recognized this and she taught this, it looks more like this. All these emotions, all these experiences kind of jumbled together into a big, messy experience. This was more common to just experience all these things at different times during grief. Dr. Lewis Tonkin's model of grief, it's this idea that the grief remains the same and we grow around it. Let me show you a different model of this. It's the idea that people tend to believe that grief shrinks over time. What really happens is that we grow around our grief. Now, I'm going to show you something a little different from this idea based on my experiences with my own loss and grief and my experience working with hundreds of people. And this is what I've discovered is that these current grief models, whether it's Dr. Kubler-Ross's or Dr. Tonkin's model, are really inadequate for us to come to terms or to understand healing. They don't offer a path. There's no pathway. I don't have time to go into the value of these models and how this helped palliative care, the systems that we now have in place to care for those who are terminally ill. But it doesn't offer a path to healing. It doesn't offer concrete steps. It doesn't promote hope for healing. And it can keep people stuck. I'm going to show you just a little different way of looking at Dr. Tonkin's model of grief. We have this broken heart and the heart remains the same size, but we're growing around it, not physically, but emotionally and other ways. But the hope model of healing, which in my experience and possibly in your experience, you may have noticed that as you grow beyond the grief, as you have new experiences, and you may notice that the grief that you have changes form. It changes the way it feels. You come to new understandings, new levels of acceptance. My experience has been that when we have grown around the grief, when we have broadened our understanding of grief, our understanding of loss, and had new experiences and perhaps even experienced post-traumatic growth, we have the ability to heal more completely. And healing looks different for every person. I'm not trying to suggest that healing means that we're perfect, we're just continuously happy every day. That's not truly healing. But the loss has less of a sting. We feel less triggered by those past experiences when we put forth the effort to understand our grief, to understand our experiences, and to do the work of healing. I also want to share with you this model of grief that I developed to show how grief changes over time. And some of this happens naturally. Perhaps you have experienced this as well. In those early stages of grief, this level 5 grief, it's all consuming. I know in those early days after my brother died, I know in those early days after my kids died, the grief was all consuming. I had no energy for anything else in my life or in my experiences. That was the totality of my experience, was just grief. Grief was just everywhere. And you can see from this orange box here that it's the grief that overtakes our whole being. Level 4 grief is over time, and this kind of happens naturally, that all-consuming grief lessens that early shock, that early devastation lessens, and then we go into deep grief. This is what I call level 4 deep grief, where we have a little bit of a lessening of the intensity. Every once in a while, we're able to peek our head out of the cloud of grief. And then we come into level 3. And again, this is not linear, but level 3 is what I call functional grief. This is where The grief has lessened its hold and its intensity to where we're able to function in life. We're able to get up in the morning. We're able to fix breakfast. We're able to get off to work. We're able to focus on our work. Maybe not for the whole 8 hours of the workday, but a good portion of the day, we're able to function at some level. But the grief, you can see how that box is still outside of the person. The grief is still very present and very apparent. But at some level, we're functioning. And then people move into hidden grief. And to me, hidden grief is the most insidious grief because two different things can happen. The first thing is they internalize this idea that grief lasts forever. So if grief lasts forever, then I have to learn to hide my grief to function. Or they internalize this idea that maybe they're hearing from friends and family things like, you're not over that yet. Shouldn't you be doing better? It's this shame message that people expect you to move forward. They expect you to get over it. And it's that type of thing that sends a person into hidden grief. Because if the expectation from friends and family, then you have to hide the grief, you have to internalize it and not speak vocally or express in any way grief in order to be acceptable to other people. Do you see how harmful this place is? Because a person is still living with this grief, but they're having to internalize it. And it's visceral, but it's so painful, it doesn't feel safe to express that level of grief. But when somebody receives the support, the love, the education, the tools to express their grief, to move through the pain, they can experience level 1 resolved grief. So let's talk about what is healing. I'm throwing around this word healing. And again, I'm not suggesting that life is perfect, everything is good, we're happy 24/7. No, that's not what healing is. But healing is releasing of that unrelenting, painful feelings. Grief is this unrelenting pain that's just ever present. It's not the occasional sadness that we might feel. All of this is normal and natural. Grief is normal and natural. Grief is part of the healing process. It's also experiencing feelings of purpose, happiness, restored enthusiasm for life. Again, it's not about perfection. It's not about living in happiness 24/7, but it is beginning again to feel those feelings of purpose again, being able to connect with enthusiasm and happiness, not 24/7, but being able to connect to that. Feeling occasional sadness about the loss, that is completely normal. And that is part of healing, is allowing ourselves to go there and to experience that. Being comfortable talking about the loss and living with a full range of emotions, allowing ourselves to be sad, allowing ourselves to be happy, allowing ourselves to feel. When we're suppressing all that, we're also suppressing our ability to feel joyful, to feel happy, to feel enthusiastic. So living with a full range of emotions is optimal. Let's look at grief and healing. When we experience a loss, we find ourselves over in the grief land. We find ourselves in this place of sadness, of fear, of guilt, of shame. All these emotions live under this umbrella of grief. Grief is natural, but it's also natural for us to want to heal. It's natural to want to move toward healing. And yet, even though that's natural, it feels impossible to get there. It feels like there is no path between grief and feeling better. How many of you have experienced that? Feeling like healing is a million miles away and completely inaccessible. And that's how so many people feel. That has to do with not having any pathway in between, not having a roadmap. They find themselves in this abyss with so many questions. They're looking in 1,000 different places for answers to how to feel better. It's natural to want to feel better. This is what we want. We want to heal. And so, how do we do that? And that's where the hope model of healing comes in. The hope model of healing is all about honoring the grief, honoring that experience, opening up to understanding of our experience, preparing through discovery, and then embracing resolution and rebuilding. Hope offers a pathway to healing and leads to transformation. So, this is the hope model of healing, including the 5 foundations of growth: coping, understanding, discovering, resolving, rebuilding. These are the 5 foundations of growth. The hope model of healing offers structure, and the 5 foundations of growth provide a pathway. The hope model of healing and the 5 foundations of growth create more certainty in healing because there's a pathway, because there's education and understanding around coping. They're able to experience some self-compassion instead of resisting grief. It's not about resisting grief. It's about allowing it. It's about understanding the experience. And then it's about looking at the experience of their specific grief and discovering the pieces. Because we can say, I lost a brother, I lost a father, I lost a mother, I went through a divorce. Those are broad experiences that when we say that somebody is a widow, we have an understanding of what that means. But that doesn't mean that every person that loses a spouse has had the same experience. So there's a discovery process of the pieces and the parts of our individual stories. And when we discover those pieces and those parts of our individual stories, then we're able to go through a process of resolution. Again, I'm going to repeat once again, this is not about perfection. This is not about having it all figured out, but it's about moving in that direction. And it's been my experience over and over again that when people move through this model, rebuilding becomes natural rather than forced. Because when people are in the grief space and they don't have a pathway, what do? They try to force healing. What I've noticed is that when people move through these 5 foundations of growth, rebuilding becomes more natural because they're not carrying so much heaviness into the rebuilding process. So let's talk about becoming a certified hope grief coach. What is a certified hope grief coach? A grief coach is someone who offers hope and support to those who are grieving. It's someone who is trained in grief and grief support. It's someone who guides people through the hope model of healing and the 5 foundations of growth. And I want to share with you a couple of really brief client testimonials. I want you to put your own name in this. The bottom line is anybody who has a desire to help others, who's open to learning new things and to going through a training process, can receive these types of testimonials. Julie has given me the tools and confidence as she has shared her insights and passion to offer hope that there truly is a life after losing a child. The Build a Life After Loss coaching program has been changing my life in areas that were not healthy from losses that compiled and became complicated. Thank you for sharing your heart, Julie. Okay. Again, this program can be applied to any type of loss and grief. Here's another one. I have been reflecting on how grateful I am for the opportunity I had to work with you. I have a calm and a peace that I never thought would be possible. Thank you for being such a light in my life. This is such a common experience for people. They come in feeling like there is so little hope in the idea that there could be healing from, and then they come in and they start to understand and they start to have compassion for their own experience. Coaching is all about walking along somebody. It's about offering education. It's about offering tools. It's about helping them in their process in the moment. This is Laura. And she said, my oldest son died unexpectedly in 2016, shortly before his 24th birthday. I withdrew. I numbed out on alcohol, food, and grief. I found life coaching in 2020 and decided to figure out how to live again. As I was searching for a way to help other mothers heal from child loss, I found Julie and began listening to her practical advice. And when she opened up her grief course, I knew I had to be a part of it. Thank you for practical teaching and being an example of what is possible when you choose healing. Why is this important? Why is it important now? People are hurting. And when a person hurts, it's not just them that's hurting. Maybe you've heard the phrase, hurt people hurt people. And that's not to vilify a person that's hurting. It goes beyond that one person. And when we can help someone heal, healed people help people heal.
Thank you, Julie, for teaching us about the Hope Model of Healing, the 5 foundations of growth, and just sharing all of your wisdom and your passion with us. I want to talk a little bit more specifically about the upcoming semester and how you too can become a certified grief coach. The goal of this program is to help you become comfortable, confident, and effective in supporting a client in their grief and assisting them in life-changing, incremental healing steps and shifts. I want to share with you what one of our coaches said. Julie said, going through the grief training was a profound experience for me. I learned so many things that were brand new to me and that helped me understand grief on a much deeper level. I love that now I have tools to empower my clients to make progress and find joy again. If you are considering taking this training, don't hesitate. I will forever be grateful for the things I have learned from this program and can't wait to share it with others so they can grow and heal too. Julie Hawks was already a life energy coach when she came to be certified. She wanted more tools to be able to assist those who were grieving. We have pastors and ministers that come who want to help their congregation. We have people that come from all walks of life that join us to be certified. You can make a difference. The next semester starts April 23rd. It may seem like it's a little ways out, but it's right around the corner, and we are so excited to get going in this next semester. For all the details, you can scan the QR code or you can go to certification.sandyfalter.com/get-certified. That's how you can find all the details and book a call with me. And then we'll take 15 minutes. I'll answer all your questions and see if this is a good fit for you. Let's talk about just a few of the things that you will get when you become a certified grief coach. First, you'll gain confidence in being able to help others on their journey, confidence in the knowledge to understand these tools and know how to help and share. You'll have the ability to coach someone through grief. And what's amazing about this program is you'll have access to the system, to the workbook for your clients, a step-by-step guide to help them on their healing journey. And you will experience personal healing as you go through this program. We do have a registration special right now that is $700 off. But first, I want to give you a little more about the structure, how it works. First, it's a comprehensive training in the Hope Model of Healing and the 5 Foundations of Growth. You'll get training modules that you go through every week with over 50 videos that you'll have lifetime access to. There will be 9 weekly interactive live calls that'll run 90 minutes every week, where we answer all your questions. We work together. You'll have an accountability partner. You'll practice coaching, and we will work together. These calls are my favorite part of this program. I love the connection, the mentoring, and the support community that we create in this program. You'll receive training that's specific to coaching skills and guiding people through grief. You'll learn the 3 levels of coaching and how you can be an intuitive coach. You'll receive instruction on how to start your business. And you'll receive a package in the mail with your coach's manual that will be your resource as you go through this program and as you continue to help others on their grief journey. You'll have access to purchase the client workbook. There's 2 amazing parts of this. One, only those who have been certified through the Hope Model of Healing have access to purchase this. They can't just go buy it online. The second thing is you actually do have access to this system, a step-by-step guide for your clients. You don't just get trained and then set out to figure this out on your own. We have a guidebook to help you guide your clients step by step. And then you'll have rights and access to all the tools, the back office, all the resources as outlined in the program. Now, I want to share with you this video of Courtney. We have so much fun in this program. I know grief is heavy and it may seem like, how can it be fun? But these weekly calls, we connect, we share our hearts, we share our stories, and we grow together.
Anybody who feels called or compelled to do this course, to get this certification, should absolutely do it. We need more grief coaches, more people who are certified to come alongside people. What I think I loved most about it was we were being heard and seen, which also plays into coaching, teaching us how to coach. You were modeling how we should coach. I just loved it. I loved every bit of it. We began to mold together as a cohesive group. You get to build that rapport. But then it was like, oh no, what are we going to do on Mondays? But it was really just a joy and so very worth it. The cherry on top of the whole course is those weekly calls that we did. You covered everything that I feel that I need to know to at least begin that process of becoming successful at grief coaching. It was well worth the time and the financial investment to be able to get this certification. 100%. And you as a role model, just your authenticity, the way that that carries over, beyond the things that you said, the way that you presented them to, if I can get half of that and take it and then repurpose it and use that, that in and of itself will be well worth it. Gold. It's just gold.
Oh, Courtney, we had so much fun in that group together and in every group. It truly is one of my favorite parts, to gather together to create this community. You also have access to a coach's Facebook page just for those who are Hope Grief Coach certified. So it's a great community and we'd love to have you join us. Let's talk a little bit about the investment. A lot of these programs are between $7,000 and $10,000. Our program is not. Our program is $3,500. However, we have an early bird special. So it's only $2,800. You get $700 off, and there are payment plans available. Now, I'm doing a registration bonus. This is the first time I've offered this bonus, so we'll see how it goes. I may only offer it this one time. I may get too busy, but I'm offering a free 30-minute coaching session for all those who register for the course. I am super excited to start connecting right away, or you can save it to the end of the course and we'll talk about building your business and whatever you need. So this is your little bonus to use during the course of this semester. The other thing is that the early bird pricing and 6-month financing does end on March 19th. So you'll want to make some decisions. You'll want to get going on this so that you can get in. I want to let you know that we have done some of our classes and we had 14 participants. We have learned that the class size between 8 and 10 is the best. So we will only have 10 at the most in our spring course. So if you want to be one of those 10, don't wait. It will fill up. It always does. I am so excited that you've joined me. Thank you for taking the time. Whether the timing is right for you or not, you can click the QR code or go to the website and book a call with me and ask me all your questions. I would love to see if this is a good fit for you. So you have nothing to lose. It's only 15 minutes of your time. Book a call and let's talk about this next step.